chaos breaking out of the Mexico-Guatemala border as migrants clash with police. The massive caravan fighting to make it.
Of illegal immigrants.
When they don't get what they want, they create violence, they create havoc.
You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups. We are. The wall is under construction.
Saudi Arabia now saying that the missing Washington Post columnist, Jamal Khashoggi, died during a fight at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. 18 people now under arrest.
There's a new ad talking about violence against Republicans.
A man from Virginia is accused of grabbing Laxalt's campaign manager so hard it left bruises on her body.
We can see that this is a mob, and that word is chosen for a reason. It's not a talking point, it's a fact.
In it to win it. It's the second largest jackpot in U.S. history, $1 billion. Now folks across the nation are taking a chance on their luck.
Good morning, sunshine, greet the day and the light. It's time to go.
You can see, though, we've got
There's
a pony out there.
Pony. It's a fall festival. We bring the fall festival to you. We've got apple cider. I think a bouncy house ad will be in there later.
I can't wait to do that.
And farm animals. Do you have any experience? Emily, we know you love cars. You've been a cheerleader. You're a legal analyst. Do you have any experience with farm animals?
Yes, I do. I grew up every
course.
summer going to a ranch camp, and then I worked on the ranch, and then I worked on a ranch in Montana, too. I love animals. I'm so excited about the
We thought we were
farm
cool
animals.
before you came to the couch, and we were going to be out there on ponies, and you're going to, like, roll up in a Trans Am. You'll be like, yo, bro.
Or like co-op one of those police horses, and
Yeah.
she'll be on top of it, and we'll be on ponies.
By the way, you mentioned fall. Christmas is coming. A viewer sent me this tie. It benefits St. Jude's. It's a Brooks Brothers tie. It's got the St. Jude symbol on there, and you can go to their website, apparently, and buy the tie, give it as a gift to somebody, and the money goes to sick kids at St. Jude's. So it's a really nice thing. Thanks for
Very
sending
cool
me the tie.
tie, but Ed, you skipped 2 holidays, okay? Halloween, Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday, and you go straight to Christmas.
Yeah, listen, Christmas is almost here. It's just like only a few days away. That's what I think.
Fall is my favorite time of year, and I'm so excited for the festival, but Christmas is obviously the,
Absolutely.
everything leads up to Christmas.
We're excited you're here, but we got a busy news morning.
That's right. We're going to go straight to a Fox News alert. Chaos breaking out on the Mexico-Guatemala border as migrants clash with police. The massive caravan fighting to make it to the United States.
Our Border Patrol already arresting a record number of illegal immigrants.
This is live in McAllen, Texas, the most heavily trafficked area along our southern border. Good morning, Griff Boy. You've been doing some amazing reporting over the last 24 hours, and it continues into the weekend.
Thanks. Good morning, guys. You know, nobody's watching that caravan of migrants down there on the Mexico-Guatemala border closer than the officials here at the Border Patrol. It was just amazing footage. It continues this morning as those migrants crash into what is Mexico's sort of unprecedented assistance in trying to stem it, but they simply can't stop it. And there's a connection, Ed, between those migrant caravan folks and the folks we're arresting here in these Central American countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We saw that there were the overwhelming number of arrests we had yesterday. I witnessed more than 75 arrests in the little 5-mile radius I was in. This is a 316-mile sector in the Rio Grande Valley. And we talked to the deputy chief, Raul Ortiz, and he says the driver for bringing people here are the loopholes that must be closed. Listen.
These organizations, the cartels, the people that are coming from these Central American countries are taking advantage of these loopholes in the system. And so if we could close those, that would allow us to repatriate these folks a lot quicker to their home countries. We're going to continue to take this fight to the cartels as much as we possibly can.
So we are hearing here, I've been talking to the officials. They said there's a current activity happening right now in this area, and we are going to wheels up and get out here and try and show it to you, because really, guys, the work of the Border Patrol, you know, they don't make the laws, they enforce them, and they're quite heroic and courageous in doing it. And we're going back out in the brush to show you what they have to deal with. Unprecedented numbers coming across the border. Last year, more than 107,000 illegal aliens crossed this border and were apprehended. And they're going to be out there doing it again this morning.
Great reminder. They don't
Guys,
make the laws, they enforce them. Griff, thank you very much. Great stuff. We appreciate
There's a broader context here as well, which is that when President Trump said, I'm going to renegotiate NAFTA, I'm going to get Mexico to give us a fairer deal, people laughed. They say these tariffs are a disaster. He'll never renegotiate NAFTA. And guess what? Mexico's been backing down a bit on the tariffs. Mexico has now renegotiated, along with Canada, the whole trade deal. Then you bring it to illegal immigration. And the fact of the matter is Mexico now, under pressure from President Trump, has said, we're going to deal with this. The reason why we're seeing those dramatic pictures at Mexico's southern border, not the American southern border, is the pressure from the president has gotten the Mexican. Last time the caravan got past that southern border in Mexico and was headed towards the southern border of the United States. Now, under pressure from this president, Mexico is getting the message and saying, we better stop this at our border and not let it get to America, because President Trump's going to be all over us.
Such a great point. And I think that illustrates, too, the difference of this administration and the prior one is that this one has taken a more holistic approach. So it's touched on diplomacy, the cartel situation, all of the push factors that lead into that mass migration, that border security on our southern border is really only a small fraction of. And that's something that's getting done so much more efficiently now.
That's another good point. Well, President Trump was in Mesa, Arizona last night. He said, amongst the group, there might be some bad hombres. Listen.
Right now, as you know, Mexico is on their southern border, and they're fighting some bad people in that group. You know, you see the people come up and you listen to the fake news back there and you think they're all wonderful people, right? No, you think, I'm serious, you think they're all wonderful people. You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups. And I'll tell you what, this country doesn't want them.
That's another important point, because 24 hours ago, when the caravan was first heading towards the U.S. and before it was being stopped at the Mexico southern border, CNN and others were saying Fox is hyping this up, and that there's mostly children and pregnant women. Now, and that's true. They are among the caravan. But there are also reports now that some of those pregnant women in the front are being basically used as human shields to cover the fact that there are some bad folks in the back of the caravan. So, look, you've got to cover all sides of this, not just one side, and I think the president is pointing that out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And the fact that his message, I think, to me, it resonated. And that slogan illustrates, too, that the GOP, Republicans, have a central messaging that they're going after. He's talking about jobs. He's talking about an actual substantive thing. Whereas the Democrats on the left, they're scattered. They're shouting. They're talking about, they're attacking. They're defending. There's no cohesive messaging. Really, it's not substantive. So I think that slogan speaks to that,
Yeah, what is the message of chaos? What is the message of, you just come on in, make your way here, sneak across the border, do your thing, seek asylum, we'll deal with you a couple years later. It's it's terrible immigration
Especially
law.
since Chuck Schumer and other Democrats just a few years ago were saying, we need to enforce our laws.
Yeah,
They're not saying
it's
that
total
anymore.
hypocrisy. Well, the president, as we mentioned earlier, was in Mesa, Arizona last night for another rally. He's doing 4 or 5 of them a week. We can't even keep up. But he was down there, and he was on message, not just talking about the border and what's happening there, but also talking about jobs and juxtaposing it with mobs. Listen.
The choice for every American could not be more clear than it is right now. Democrats produce mobs, Republicans produce jobs. So this November, when you're voting, vote for the jobs, not for the mobs. Democrats want to throw your borders wide open to deadly drugs and ruthless gangs. We don't want them. Democrats have become the party of crime. It will be the election of Kavanaugh, the caravan, law and order, tax cuts.
And, you know, there are a lot of pundits saying, tax cuts are not really mattering to people. Nancy Pelosi called it crumbs. It's not front and center in this election. But Newt Gingrich last night, the former speaker, was on with Laura, and he said, hang on a second. This is big stuff, and it's going to resonate. Watch.
Lowest African-American unemployment in history, lowest Latino unemployment in history. I think we're now have the lowest general unemployment since like 1969. It's pretty hard not to believe that President Trump and his policies have made a very positive impact. The only major economy that's growing right now is the United States. None of the others are growing. And I think that we're doing something right. I think this whole notion of jobs versus mobs is real. And you've seen it here at home with Democratic mobs. You're seeing it now trying to come up from Guatemala with a mob. And this is a very serious question.
So we're talking about this year's election, but it almost feels like in some ways we're talking about 2016 because Ed, she might be back.
Oh, Hillary's back?
Yeah, you've got job security. You can cover her again.
I'll go back to her. She loves me.
Philippe Reins, who's one of her advisors, was quoted in Politico saying the likelihood of Hillary Clinton running in 2020 is somewhere between highly unlikely and 0. But it's not 0, Emily.
So you're saying there's a chance.
She's telling me that.
Exactly. I think what kills me about that, besides the resurrection and the kind of zombie quality that she has, is that it kills me that the Democratic Party really couldn't find someone else. That there's really no one else that could be the figurehead of supposedly this new wave and regeneration of energy and all the things that everyone cares about, and it's just the same old.
And step back for a second. To her point, is there really a chance?
I don't think. I think there's a chance that Hillary Clinton wants one more crack at the president, but I think there is 0 chance that the rest of the Democratic Party, to Emily's point, they don't want her to come back because they want to find a new leader. They're just struggling. They can't find a new leader. It's all these folks on the left that are the same old folks like Bernie Sanders, who have a pro-socialist message that gave rise to Ocasio-Cortez and others that we've been talking about. And guess who wants Hillary Clinton to run? President Trump. Because he thinks she'd be easy pickings. If you don't believe me, look at what Sarah Sanders said. After seeing what Philippe said, she tweeted, Christmas coming early this year?
She's on your early Christmas train. There you go, right there.
I told you.
Well, email us, friends@foxnews.com.
Should Hillary run?
Should she run?
Yeah.
We had the banner up there, third time a charm.
Third time a charm, maybe.
You know, I'm telling you this. Don't put on your seatbelt. I don't believe in seatbelts. But
people should wear seatbelts.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, people should.
Well, fine. If you want to wear seatbelts, you should. I think we should be free to choose to be dumb if we want to be.
See, this is what I do.
Right.
In the muscle car, you use a seatbelt, right?
Right. In Pete's Prius, he doesn't. Boom. Turning now to your headlines. A state trooper hospitalized in stable condition after being stabbed multiple times. A carjacking suspect attacked a state. That suspect condition after being stabbed multiple times. A carjacking suspect attacked a state. That suspect shot and taken into custody.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Subject coming at him with a knife.
Do we have any injuries at the scene? Stabbed in the head.
Trooper stabbed in the head, shoulder, and arm. He's married with children and is expected to survive.
Oh, thank God.
Turning to extreme weather, heavy rain pushing into southern Texas today. 54 counties now under a disaster declaration as Governor Greg Abbott warns of more dangerous flooding this weekend. This brand new drone video shows a bridge that collapsed into the water in Kingsland, Texas, outside Austin.
Wow.
It's isolating an entire neighborhood from the rest of the town.
That's intense.
On to MLB playoffs, the Milwaukee Brewers rallied.
See that small market team, small-ish. All right.
As long as LA loses, I'm happy.
Amen.
All right. Strap in your seatbelts for that game.
Don't get me started. Rhetoric on the left spiraling out of control.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for.
When they go low, we kick them.
Wise words. But Mark Penn, a former advisor to the Clintons, says political civility is not optional. He's next. Plus, this robotic hand can catch a beer and crush the can.
The segment Pete is dying to watch.
Could
Check it out.
revolutionize
Coming up.
life.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for.
When they go low, we kick them.
These members of his cabinet, they're not going to be able to go to a restaurant. They're not going to be able to stop at a gas station.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
Amid weeks of escalating rhetoric on the left, our next guest argues that despite what some prominent Democrats say, political civility is not optional.
And joining us now to discuss, former senior advisor to the Clintons, author of Microtrend Squared, Mark Penn. Good morning, Mark. We appreciate you coming in.
Good morning.
I know you as a fair-minded Democrat who looks at politics through, clear-eyed lens, and I wonder when you see that bit of sound there from various top Democrats, from Hillary Clinton, who you once worked for, Eric Holder, do you recognize the Democratic Party as it exists today?
Look, Democrats have to get the vote out, but in getting the vote out, civility is not optional. It's fundamental. It's fundamental to our democratic process, to supporting the Constitution. And every office holder takes an oath really to support the Constitution. That means recognizing who wins elections, who wins confirmation battles, and move on. Look, today's winners are always tomorrow's losers in politics if we only have the patience to let the public speak. And I think this is being lost both with the Republicans, if you look down at what happened in Miami last night, and the Democrats here, and they both have to get together and join in this basic message, or we're going to lose our democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark, where do you think that messaging should arise from? Should it be from the elected officials? Do you feel like the public is clamoring for it? Or, which comes first, the chicken or the egg in this scenario?
Leaders need to lead. I think the public is looking for greater civility. Look, you know that if there's one thing the public doesn't like about President Trump, it's that they think his tweets go too far. Now, to me, those are words. Negative ads are words. But once politics becomes physical, once people are encouraged to be uncivil, I think that's wrong. We have the greatest democracy in the world. Let's respect it, or we're going to ruin it.
Mark, let's bottom line this, because as I mentioned at the top, you've been involved in politics for a long time. You're clear-eyed. You've just laid out some of the problems for Democrats as they head into these midterms. But let's be honest, historically, heading into this, it's usually bad for an incumbent president. But this so-called blue wave, do you buy it, or is it now sort of a red firewall that might just barely hold the House and pick up some seats in the Senate? What's your crystal ball right now?
The crystal ball now is it's a blue edge. We're still seeing Democrats holding in congressional districts. We've seen some movement towards the Republicans in the Senate. We've seen the Republican voters get energized after the Kavanaugh fight. They were pretty much asleep. They had no leadership. Ryan had quit. I think this is going to be a battle right down to the last vote. I just want it to be a civil battle.
A good way to end that, and we'll be covering it every step of the way. Mark Penn, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, the Democrat running for governor in Florida signing an anti-police pledge. Really? This morning, local law enforcement responds live right here.
And there were no winning tickets sold for the $1 billion Mega Millions jackpot. You won't believe what the prize just went up to now.
I'm buying tickets today. Right after the show, I'm buying more.
Psoriatic arthritis.
Time now for your news by the numbers here on the catwalk. First, 75,000. That's how many accounts were just hacked on the Obamacare Exchange website. Cyber crooks getting access to personal info from a healthcare.gov system. Obamacare open enrollment starts November 1st. Next, 77,000. That's how many people signed up to attend the president's Monday rally for Senator Ted Cruz. But the venue only fits 18 grand. Houston police say once it hits capacity, no one else is getting in. There'll be a big spillover room, I guess. Let's walk over here now. And finally, $65.70 and the Mega Ball 7. You might have gotten a smaller prize, but the next drawing for $1.6 billion, that is Tuesday, my friend.
Ed, that's a catwalk?
That's what I'm calling. I'm going to stick with that.
Well done, sir. Well done. All right. Well, moving on.
The race for governor in Florida in a dead heat this morning, and local law enforcement has now come out against the Democrat candidate Andrew Gillum.
The Broward Sheriff's Deputies Association taking issue with his ties to the radical group Dream Defenders. He signed what's called their Freedom Pledge, which supports their anti-police freedom papers. In part, this is what it reads. Police were never meant to protect and serve me and you. Police and prisons, since their founding, have always been about safety for the haves while wreaking havoc for the have-nots. Police and prisons, they say, have no place in justice.
Here now to respond is president of the Broward Sheriff's Office Deputies Association, Jeff Bell. Jeff, tell us, what does it mean to you that Mayor Gillum signed this Freedom Pledge?
Well, it's what can you not say about this? From a law enforcement perspective, when you have a potential candidate for the next governor who's willing to sign a pledge with an anti-law enforcement, anti-government radical group such as the Dream Defenders, he's clearly sending a message to the voters before Election Day that he's willing to support defend and recognize radical groups like the Dream Defenders, and he supports radicalization over the rule of law in the state of Florida, and we just cannot afford that in this state.
Jeff, we see a lot of stuff on the show, but a pledge that says police and prisons, they have no place in justice. So it's one thing to play to left-wing base and the Dreamers. It's another thing to sign a pledge, and you want to be a governor of this state that says, I'm not in for my police or the folks that are manning our prisons. How has the left and a candidate like this gone so far?
Well, when you start digging into the background of candidates like Andrew Gillum, a lot of his experience comes from going to institutes like the Rockledge Institute out in Oakland, California, where they gain these radical ideas and come back to the local communities and start building up the ground-based support. And they try and get into the lower-income communities and spread the lie. And they hate and create dissension between law enforcement and the public. And they even started between the political parties as well. It's almost like a big game for them, but they don't realize that these are real lives that are on the line.
Well, apparently, Jeff, the Gillum campaign has a different approach. We asked for a statement. They gave us one. They said the mayor has been a strong ally of law enforcement in Tallahassee, investing in additional officers to help reduce crime across the city. As Mayor Gillum has previously said, he will invest in community policing, smart justice, and strategies that work with communities to reduce crime.
Which is rich, because now we're hearing that, the Tallahassee, the town that he's the mayor of, has the highest crime rate in the state of Florida and in that county. So how is that reconciled with the public? And from where you are, boots on ground, what are you hearing that the public cares about, and how they reconcile that difference of what he says and what he's clearly doing in that town?
Well, it's just empty words from Andrew Gillum. I mean, he wants to say that he works well with law enforcement, but the proof is in the numbers. When you are the mayor of Tallahassee, a city of about 200,000 residents, and you have one of the highest crime rates in the state of Florida, you can't say that you're supporting law enforcement and you're doing everything you can to combat crime. You're actually fudging the numbers up there, and you're creating a perception that you're doing a good job. But when Mr. Gillum wants to align himself with these radical groups like the Dream Defenders, that sends a message out to the average citizen in the state of Florida that it's an insult to law enforcement. It's a dishonor to every single law enforcement officer that's given his life in the state of Florida to protect the citizens. Yeah. And if he's willing to create policies to take money away from the budgets and law enforcement, I don't think he's realizing that the tourism industry in the state of Florida is what drives our economy. And it's going to leave the citizens less safe, and it's going to make our tourists more vulnerable with their safety.
Well, and people are not dumb. So you sign a pledge that says police have no place in justice, and then in a statement you say, but I put more cops on the streets in Tallahassee. I mean, people are going to read through that and say you're playing a double game. Jeff Bell, thank you very much for your service and for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, a shocking anti-Semitic rant by, well, it shouldn't be shocking considering the source. Watch.
Call me an anti-Semite. Stop it. I'm anti-termite.
That's Farrakhan. So why is Twitter refusing
to decide the outcome? Our panel of women weigh in on the issues that matter most to them next.
And remember, they said, oh, but he won't do well with women. Did we do well with women? We did well with women. Women's unemployment at 3.6% is the lowest it's been in 65 years. Every day we are living by our motto, promises made, promises kept.
The president hitting the campaign trail ahead of the midterms, taking that message directly to key voting groups, including women. In fact, one of the biggest questions heading into those midterms comes down to the turnout of female voters and how big of an impact they'll have. Some predicting women will be the deciding factor. Our panel is here to weigh in. Veteran and radio talk show host Kathy Barnett, attorney Beth Parlato, attorney Keisha Hebben, and doctor and political commentator Janine Downey. I want to get everybody's names right. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. It's nice to have you back. What do you think about how ladies may be trending in this election?
Listen, when it comes to this election, I think it is just as pivotal as the 2016 election. I think we're going to wake up on November 7th, and our country is going to be going in one of two directions. Either we're going to be continuing down the path of a record number of just really great news. We just had over 7 million job openings come out in 1 month. Jobs that Obama said was never coming back. Or we're going to wake up to continuing to be mired in what the Democrats has made us endure over the past 2 years. I think that when I walk into, as a woman, as a mom, as a citizen, I have to ask myself, why in the world would anyone vote for the Democratic Party? What are they offering us besides hate and resistance?
Keisha, I'm going to work it around.
Yeah.
Keisha, what do you think? How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, I don't think that's a fair comment to make, because I am a Democrat, and I do feel that we have Democrats who are sensible and reasonable, and then you have some who aren't. But as far as the women voting, I do think there are going to be more females voting, because with the rise of the Me Too movement and things like the Kavanaugh issue, women feel like they need to have a voice. So they realize it's so important to get out there and vote.
But what about that voice, Beth? Because on the Kavanaugh issue, there's an assumption in the mainstream media that Kavanaugh was anti-woman because of allegations that were unproven. I've heard a lot of women interviewed by us and other networks saying, wait a second, I backed Justice Kavanaugh, and I think he was treated unfairly.
Right. Well, I was one that did back Justice Kavanaugh, actually, as a conservative woman. But absolutely, women are going to make a difference in this election. Pew Research Center came out with, has stated that women made up 55% of the electorate in 2016. And at this point, I believe that Democrats are actually counting on the women vote, because they want to flip Congress. And we actually do have an unprecedented amount of women that are running for Congress. I believe there's 256, and out of that number,
lot have gotten involved.
and out of that number, 197 are Democratic women. So it's clear that the Democratic Party has made this part of their platform to run the women.
So
but
they may have energy among women.
They may, but as conservative women, I think that it's false. I think that their narrative is this fake feminism, and it's a false narrative.
Okay, let's let Dr.
Been funded. It's not been ratified.
You mean not
Women are
renewed?
looking right.
It's already
like,
on the books.
It's on the books. It's extended until December 7th, but it could expire. It's not been ratified. It's not been funded. Other things like our health care protections, with Obamacare being taken away for women that are looking for Obamacare.
But how?
That are,
hang on
that
one
are
second. How is
helping.
Obamacare taken away from women?
Well,
It's
right
still
now
law
they're
though.
saying that they're going to defund it, and that's what Mitch McConnell is
And
talking
it was
about.
a colossal failure
That's a
as
current
well.
talking point. And then beyond that, in terms of women themselves, I was against Brett Kavanaugh being confirmed as a Democrat and as a liberal woman. And I looked at Dr. Ford, and I did believe her testimony.
We don't
And I
need
felt
to
like
reiterate
just his
that.
Okay, let her finish her point
alone,
then.
just his countenance alone, just him slamming his fist, him
Okay.
crying. If that was me up there before the Senate slamming
Okay.
my fist and crying,
All
I
right.
do not feel.
I don't want to relitigate Justice
No,
Kavanaugh.
you don't
I got
want
1
to
minute.
relitigate
I'll
that.
let you make a
Listen to
quick
this right
point.
here,
Go
okay?
ahead.
What we need to be asking ourselves, not just as women, but as a nation, what are the policies of the Nancy Pelosi's? What are the policies of the Chuck Schumers, of the Spartacus Bookers, of the crazy
Equal
Maxine
pay-
Waters?
equal pay
What
for
are
good
their
work.
policies? Hate
Equal
and
pay-
resistance.
One at a time. One at a
Hate
time.
and
One at a time.
resistance is not going to
Equal
put
pay for
food
equal
on
work.
my table.
Okay, both of you have made your point. Let's go Beth and Keisha. to
Okay,
end it.
one
Beth.
point. I think that in this election for the midterms, the Republicans are selling peace and prosperity. And when our country prospers, the problem is
We
the
all
Democrats.
prosper.
Well, we all prosper, but the Democrats lose. They diminish their platform when our country prospers, and then they fall into.
You made your case for
okay.
Republicans, Keisha.
All right.
Right, but the issue is more of females, or females going to come out. And that's the biggest issue, whether they're Republican, Democrat. It's more about women having a voice. And we as moms and
we
women,
want jobs.
right, but that doesn't mean that we have to attack the other party. I'm
we
so
want
tired
Okay.
of that.
Everyone's got a chance. Dr. Jeanine, very quick point.
700,000 jobs being lost a month when Obama took office. The trend went up. The trend is still going up. We have jobs. We have some security in that for sure. The stock market is doing well.
if we
The
want to
tax
keep
plan
it,
is
vote
not the Republican tax plan is not for individuals. It's for corporations. That alone makes us lose economic
Guess what?
security.
I've got good news. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to have you back later.
Okay, great.
So hold that thought. We're going to get you some coffee, and we're going to come back.
you, Ed.
Kathy, Beth,
Thank
Keisha,
you.
and Dr. Jeanine. Great
Thanks so
discussion.
much.
We'll be back with more.
Thank you, Ed.
Meanwhile, Emily's upstairs with some headlines.
Thanks, Ed. Great panel. Turning now to your headlines, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions bashing a proposal to overhaul Chicago's law enforcement.
I am.
Police are not the problem. The criminals are the problem. There's one asset that can make this city safer, and it's your police department.
The plan would restrict officers' use of force, which Sessions says is an insult to police. Senator Elizabeth Warren blasted for her DNA test results in a heated debate. Republican challenger Jeff Deal sounding off on the night's first topic.
I don't care, Senator Warren, about what your Native American heritage is or isn't. I think it's about integrity.
I am not a citizen of any tribal nation. Only tribes determine tribal citizenship. It's not done by DNA.
Warren's DNA test proved that she may be less than 1/1000th Native American after years of claiming to be part Cherokee and Delaware.
She will never be president of the United States. That's a Fox News. Nice red suit. I like that.
Thank you. Well, I'm kind of in theme here. We've got a fall festival that's going. It's kind of bonkers out here right now, and it's feeling like fall. Though I know we're going to be doing a lot of fall things coming up here in a little bit later in the show. But we've got the fall-like weather. Temperatures here in New York City hovering there right in the middle 50s. There's plenty of cold spots. Take a look at that cold front stretching across the country. That has been the story for big portions of the country. Rain stretching from New England back down across the southeast into Texas, where there has been flooding in portions of Texas. Good news there, while there still is going to be some standing water for a while, some of the heaviest rain continues to move on out. On the day, it's going to be a beautiful fall day. There are our fall highs. I've got a lot to do out here, guys, so I got to wrap this up. There's some goats I need to pet. There's some tractors I need to ride. I think we're going to have a lot of fun up here coming up.
Have you ever ridden a tractor, Adam?
Of course I have.
You have?
I grew up in Indiana. Yeah, I've been on a tractor.
I'm not calling him out. I'm asking.
We used to take our tractor to school.
Oh, you guys always compete.
He used to take his tractor to school. I love that, Adam. I'd like to see a photo of that. Good man. We'll see you in a second. Yeah. All right, well, a shocking, not so shocking, considering the source, anti-Semitic rant by Louis Farrakhan.
Call me an anti-Semite. Stop it. I'm anti-termite.
Oh.
So Facebook took it down. Why hasn't Twitter? That's next.
Good question. Plus, Ken Starr, Geraldo, and Dr. Gorka all here, all live, all coming up.
Is that Twitter, they've not removed this video.
So when they talk about Farrakhan, call me a hater. You know what they do? Call me an anti-Semite. Stop it. I'm anti-termite.
Facebook, they took down the Nation of Islam leader's video, saying it violates their hate speech policy. So why isn't Twitter doing the same thing? Here with more is Kurt Knudsen, the cyber guy. Kurt,
when I
good
see
morning.
jerks do stuff like that, I just think it's exactly how it was in elementary school and middle school and high school. It's the weakest people that spew out the most hate. A weak man. Right
so,
there.
well, is Twitter being weak? Here's their statement in reaction to this. They've said, we've been developing a new policy to address dehumanizing language. Some of this content falls within our hateful conduct policy, but there are still tweets many people consider to be abusive, even when they do not break our rules. We want your feedback to ensure we consider how this policy may impact different communities and cultures. Count me as, listen, I don't agree with a word this guy says. But when the speech police come in to determine what's hateful and what isn't hateful, where does it end?
And they're sitting in Silicon Valley, and it's, CEO Jack Dorsey. We've seen him in front of the Senate recently answering to a lot of questions and being open-minded. But the fact is, these companies, these tech companies that are now shaping what we hear online are sitting out in California with they never planned on doing this. This was always going to be, hey, remember us? We're just the canvas that you write on.
Right?
Yeah, you're the one with the words. We have nothing to do with it until they realized that they were complicit in letting hateful words get out or influencing words that weren't true, where there is some responsibility. And they're finally rising to the occasion, but they're completely ill-equipped. They have no ability to really. So you've got some geek sitting behind a computer going, yeah, Louis Farrakhan, that's fine. Let that one go through.
But this conservative guy over here, what he's saying about issues he or she are passionate about, well, that's not acceptable. So we've seen conservatives shut down, but stuff like this sails.
Yeah, there's a pile of really good Americans that are online that are finding some accounts that are just turned off. Why? They don't know. They're never given an explanation. Meanwhile, you have these hate mongers that continue to go on, and then and Facebook was really good. They kicked them up. They said, all right, get them out. Twitter, on the other hand, they're like, we're not so sure. You know, our policy hasn't yet been put in, and we're thinking about that one. What do you need to think about?
Yeah. You know, it's true with this one, but I'm almost scared of the Facebook side. The quick trigger is scary, too. I mean, again, this is an obvious, easy example. But if you're like, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, I'd prefer the open sphere.
Right. Here's where we're at. So you realize that right now you've got Facebook going, okay, crap, we did all kinds of bad things, and we really had our hands off of everything, and we maybe should have been helping. Now they're doing that, and they're doing exactly what you're saying, this knee-jerk reaction where they're probably going overwhelmingly in the direction of being cautious, but at the cost of shutting down our First
Prager
Amendment
University,
rights.
I mean, you see
these mysterious algorithms that they scientifically come up with that limit how you and I connect with each other online. Why are they in charge of that?
No, it really,
why can't we be in charge of that?
I appreciate how on top of this issue you are, because this is an issue of our age. If we believe in the First Amendment, these companies are going to have to be held to account.
We agree completely on that, Pete.
Goodness.
Good to see you.
Kurt, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. Those hoping for a bombshell from the special counsel's report may be in for a bit of a letdown. That's because a new report new report's coming out. We're going to ask independent counsel Ken Starr to explain live next hour. And we're having a fall festival on the Fox Square, formerly known as the Plaza, this morning. Arts and crafts time, plus farm animals, Ed waving, pumpkins, food possibly. It is a Fox and Friends Fall Festival today on the Plaza, currently known as the Fox Square. Here to tell us about all the fun we have set up is Paul, is it Esvelt? Esvelt, an orchard expert from Opal Apple. Thanks for being here.
That's right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.
So what are we looking at here?
So we've got a fall festival set up. Pete, October is National Apple Month. Sunday is National Apple Day. So we wanted a fall extravaganza set up to celebrate that.
And one of our farmers is leaving the set, but so you've got guides for kids.
Yeah,
like
we're having a great time. We're having tractor races out here. We've got arts and crafts. We've got Opal Apple sampling. In the city, we've actually popped up an orchard in the Lower East Side.
In the Lower East Side,
in
a pop-up orchard?
We've got a pop-up
Part of orchards out. So what's your favorite kind of apple?
So the Opal apple, of course.
The Opal apple. Can I grab one?
Yeah, please do.
I'm just going to grab one and give it a shot.
So crispy should be the first thing you think of, Pete.
That's
right?
really good.
Cool. Yeah.
I've got Kayla across from me and Kalela, and they're teaching me how to paint.
Really?
Yeah, so how do you paint a pine cone?
Hey.
How do we do this?
They're gonna
Are you excited?
Landon? Yeah. Can I have a couple little pieces of in case you
Talk into my mic.
She's not
How do you
gonna
paint
get
it?
out of hand. She's fine. Then you let it dry.
You let it dry. That's so good. She's excited to go in the bouncy, so we're going to do that in a minute.
My kids never remember to let it dry. That's the big problem.
So let's go see Emily with the
So,
animals.
Paul, they're not just for eating, they're for decorating.
Get ready for this.
They are for decorating. The
I love
yellow
that she
color
has
makes them
the
pretty
new
special, Pete.
apples.
You know, we like that. The sweet, tangy taste, the yellow. They've got little freckles on them. They set themselves apart.
They do. Now, so do bouncy houses and animals.
So do bouncy houses.
Emily, what do you have over there?
This is Princess. This is Buttercup, and most importantly, Allison and Rose from Allie's Ponies, who are going to introduce the entire zoo we have here.
You want to pet the pony?
Hi. So this is Wilma, and these are my little baby goats.
Okay.
That is Stella. She's a girl. That's Julius. They're twins. He's
That's
a boy.
cool.
And the bunny's over there. The black and white one's Cadbury. The one that looks just like Princess is her mom, Bun Bun.
Well, you guys do that. I'm
And
walking
the
over to
brown
the
one
bouncy.
is
Come on, Bun Bun.
Graham.
These
that a
animals
pig,
are amazing.
too?
This is adorable. I think it's fitting that
Yeah,
I
get the
have
pig.
Princess the rabbit
Right in there.
and Duchess the dog.
Okay.
And we got a bounce house, Ed? What do you
Yeah, I'm trying to get Kalela to go in, but she wants to wait for her mom to come over. She's a little scared by the weather guy.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, the weather guy's yelling at me right now. I don't understand.
bounce house.
Adam.
All right, more on the plaza later.
Right through here. That's all you got to do.
Segment has gone off the
More in the plaza later.
All right, coming up, we got Ken Starr, Geraldo Rivera, and Dr. Sebastian Gorka. 3 things I never thought I would say inside a pen with rabbits, but I did. All here live, coming up.
While the highway plays, I keep on running.